Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the online series 13 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the previous episode, which I've linked down in the description below, we used a team centered around Giratina Origin Form as well as Zacian and Kyogre. So we'll be playing a couple more matches with it today, but before we get started, I do want to briefly talk about why Giratina Origin Form is underrated in this format. If you want to just skip to the battles though, check out the timestamps in the description below, and thanks so much as always for watching. If you enjoy, please share support by leaving a like, I'd really appreciate it. Question of the day, I want to know what your favorite restricted Pokemon to use in this format is currently. So Giratina has actually really shot up there for me because of how fun this team has been, so let me know your answers down below, and let's talk about Giratina. Giratina is underrated in this format for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's got just great general base stats, right? You've got a really solid base HP stat, which when Dynamax allows Giratina to have almost 500 HP, which is one of the highest HP stats I've seen for a restricted Pokemon in this format. You've also got, good overall base attack and base defenses as well, and Giratina also gets access to Levitate, right? So Groudon is a very common Pokemon in this format, and when you use Zacian, you really want to have Pokemon that, do well against Groudon, and so having Giratina as a switch into ground type attacks is really, really valuable. Ghost and Dragon is kind of a weird typing, right? Because of course you are weak to opposing Ghosts, opposing Dragon Pokemon, Dark as well, Fairy as well, but the thing with Giratina is that it's so bulky that it isn't going to be very easily one-shot even by super effective max moves. And on this team, you also have Charm plus Light Screen on Whimsicott, so you're able to make Giratina even more difficult to KO. I think another reason why Giratina is underrated is because it is a really strong Dynamax option, especially on this team, but it's also very strong as a non-Dynamax option. First of all, when you pair it with Tailwind from Whimsicott, you can go for something like Tailwind and Shadow Force, and that can stall out a turn of your opponent's Dynamax immediately. Now, when you do that, you really have to be confident in being able to sweep the endgame, because then the subsequent turn, maybe your opponent just knocks out Giratina, but you can do some interesting things with Shadow Force. Giratina also has a really nice priority Shadow Sneak, and in this format, where speed is really the name of the game, having a priority attack can be so valuable because there's so many Pokemon that run Focus Sash like Whimsicott and Calyrex Shadow Rider. Finally, Poltergeist is just a really consistent means of damage, and you're also able to scout out for your opponent's items. Now, Giratina is also a really solid Dynamax option if you are able to, one, stall out your opponent's Dynamax in the early game, because Giratina can chain defense drops from Max Phantasm very, very quickly, right? So after a defense drop, your Giratina just does more damage, in each subsequent turn, since this is physical Giratina, and there's a Zacian on this team as well. So when Giratina goes for Max Phantasms, it allows Zacian to do more damage in subsequent turns. And so one thing that can be really nice is, knocking a Pokemon or two out in the early game and then just chaining these defense drops where you can just end the game after your opponent can't really switch out from these defense drops, right? And then you have really physical Pokemon like Zacian and Giratina to close out the game. And so, yeah, I would say, Giratina is underrated for a couple reasons. One, it's really flexible as both a Dynamax option and a non-Dynamax option. Two, it's got great base stats across the board, including a very high base HP stat. And three, it gets access to Levitate, which is just a really good ability and helps in particular against Groudon, which is a very common Pokemon in this format. So let's see some more Giratina action. Okay, our first game here, and oh boy, there is a Chansey and a Liepard. Groudon, Kyogre, Magearna, Calyrex. So anytime you see Magearna plus, the Liepard, you should expect something, or Calyrex, you have to expect something like Copycat Max Guard to set up Trick Room guaranteed. One way we could actually get around that is just simply clicking Fake Out by leading Incineroar, but then Liepard could click Fake Out onto us, and then one of their two Pokemon can set up Trick Room. Now, I've got Eerie Impulse on Zapdos, and I've got Light Screen on Whimsicott. But Zapdos is incredibly Calyrex Ice Rider weak. They could also, if they lead Liepard and Magearna, just like Fake Out plus like Steel Spike it. Giratina is pretty sweet as a Dynamax option here, I think. I think I'm down for Whimsicott Kyogre lead, Zacian Giratina, because the Kyogre applies pretty good offensive pressure in the early game, and I think this is where having Light Screen and Charm on Whimsicott is huge, right? Because, like, let's say they go with Liepard Magearna, and they just go for the Copycat Max Guard play. Turn 1, I could simply just go for a Water Spout plus Moonblast or Light Screen. Okay, they are going to go with Liepard Magearna. I mean, they could Fake Out Steel Spike here as well, but that would be okay with me. Mainly worried about Fake Tears, I suppose, coming out next turn. It'd be pretty easy to Moonblast Water Spout here, but then it's a free switch into Calyrex Ice Rider, which I don't think is ideal. Yeah, I mean, I think here, turn 1, I'm down to just Light Screen and Water Spout. Maybe it's not Focus Sash on Liepard, though. They are going to commit the Dynamax. So I expect Copycat plus Max Guard here, but we'll see. Okay. And, like, there are some ways you can get around the Copycat stuff. Like, Incineroar actually would have been decent here, but I didn't love the idea of leading it. I don't think it would have been a terrible decision, though. Oh, they actually opt for Fake Out. Okay, so they're going to go for Fake Out plus Steel Spike here, I think, which makes a lot of sense to me. Which is slightly concerning, because it means I don't get Light Screen up. But they do eat up, you know, like a quick 50% onto the Magearna slot. So I don't think it's actually that bad for us. Because the thing is, now I can pressure Dynamaxing Kyogre and just going for a KO onto the Magearna with the Max Geyser. And this is a free switch into Zacian for me as well. Oh, and your Life Orb. Okay. That makes sense. If I bring in Zacian, I would expect just the Copycat Max Guard play like I mentioned. Okay. So this turn I'm going to predict them to go for Copycat plus Max Guard. And I'm okay with that. What I can then do is... Because, like, late game Dynamax Kyogre here looks really strong in my opinion. I think they have to go for Copycat Max Guard here. So I'm willing to switch into Giratina. And what I'm actually going to do is intentionally target the Magearna slot and not bother targeting Liepard, because I don't want to give them a free switch in if they go for if they get Trick Room up, right? And here it's just like Behemoth Blade plus Water Spout would absolutely crush them, so I think you have to set up Trick Room. Yep, there's Max Guard. There's Copycat. Cool. So that's what we were expecting, and now this next turn what I can do is simply Dynamax Kyogre now. I guess I don't necessarily need a Dynamax, right? Like, let's say I expect them to Starfall into Giratina, I could protect. But, like, they might have Fake Tears, and they could Fake Tears plus target the Kyogre slot. What I can do here is guarantee a KO onto Liepard. Will be faster than it under Trick Room. I'm just, like, debating whether or not I want to actually conserve Dynamax this turn, but... Because, like, I think maxing Giratina could also work in this endgame. And, like, if I eat up Fake Tears, it could be a little bit awkward, but... I think here I will just go for Shadow Sneak and Geyser, pick up a double KO. And, like, if I trade Giratina for Magearna, I think that's fine, because I would be KOing both of their Pokemon right now. So last turn was interesting, right? Because it was like, if I stay in with Zacian, then this next turn becomes a little bit weirder. But yeah, we actually get Giratina out. I just really wanted to Dynamax Giratina in this game, but I think Max Kyogre is also acceptable here. We have a pretty significant Dynamax advantage right now. Okay, so there's Shadow Sneak. Cool. That should KO Liepard. My dream would be them having Fake Tears on the Liepard and trying to double up onto the Kyogre slot with Fake Tears plus Starfall. But I think it's likely they just target Giratina for a KO here. But as long as Kyogre can... Oh, that's bad. Alright, it's not too bad. I don't think I've ever seen Max Overgrowth on Magearna, though, so that is very interesting. But this is where, like, Dynamaxing helped me, right? Because if I didn't Dynamax, I would just eat up a one-hit KO, and that would be really not ideal. My problem now is facing Pokemon that are all slower against me in the back, and, like, a potential Seed Bomb on Calyrex as well. So, I expect Calyrex in the back for sure. The question is, what is their final Pokemon? Groudon or Kyogre both make sense in the spot. Okay, so we heal back. I mean, I'm also curious what Liepard was going for that turn. I think a Fake Tears Overgrowth double up on a Kyogre makes a ton of sense in my eyes. Okay, it's their own Kyogre. And the last one is simply Calyrex. Yep, okay. Our Kyogre is not fast at all. It only has 20 speed EVs. So there's a chance we actually outspeed them under Trick Room, which would be pretty sweet. The play I want to make here, though, is just Protect and then Max Geyser into their Calyrex, because then a Shadow Sneak will KO it, but they might protect their Calyrex here. Okay, they're not protecting Calyrex. So now the first question is, do you have Seed Bomb? Second of all, is your Kyogre faster? They just Glacial Lance, so that's already really good. I actually expect to survive Glacial Lance plus Thunder here, but let's see. Especially with the Assault Vest. Okay. Yep, they do Thunder. Beautiful, we survive. Please no paralysis. Okay, wonderful. Now I get a Max Geyser off into the Calyrex slot. Does not pick up a one-hit knockout, but that's fine. Shadow Sneak will finish it off at this point. We continue to heal back as well. What I'm actually going to do here is Shadow Sneak plus, like, let's just double check the board state. But there's only 2 turns of Trick Room left, right? So Shadow Sneak here plus a Geyser, I think, is fine in this slot. I could also go for Phantom Force. But I really don't want to get greedy and Phantom Force when they could just Glacial Lance. Like, that's a way to throw the game. And I think I'm ahead enough where I can go for a play like this. They should protect. But they don't. That's exactly why, right? Imagine if I try to get a little bit greedy there and I'm like, oh, let me just go for Phantom Force. And then they just Glacial Lance plus, like, Water Spout double up. Then I would actually just lose the game. Whereas they're like, even if you go for Protect, it's fine. I could still win the game from that position. Because, like, as you can see here, they actually ended up going for Water Spout as well. So, props to my opponent, because they actually recognized, hey, like, I can maybe win this game if my opponent gets a little bit greedy, right? And go for Glacial Lance plus Water Spout. So, that's exactly the one thing I did not want to lose to. And the reality is that even if they had, you know, gotten Protect off there, okay, fine, you're not going to KO Giratina. I can just Shadow Sneak you the next turn. Rain expires. I have Zacian with Play Rough in the back, right? So, now the game's definitely over. But Giratina was really nice for priority in this one. And even though they had the Max Overgrowth tech on the Magearna, we ended up not, you know, falling into the trap there, which was really sweet. So, it's the last turn of Trick Room now. I'm willing to just Protect here. Actually, we don't really need to Protect, right? Yeah, it's fine. I'm down to just go... I still said Phantom Force, I think. I'm down to just Shadow Force and Thunder here. Actually, Scald is just better. All we need is guaranteed damage on the Kyogre now, because we have Zacian in the back. And they end up forfeiting. Yeah. I think the main thing here was just not getting, like, too trapped by Liepard plus Magearna. Like, the initial Water Spout was just so much damage on both Pokemon, and it meant that I was in a fairly comfortable position to Dynamax the Kyogre. I think them having Kyogre over Groudon in the back helped me a lot, though, so that was favorable. Because Groudon in the back would have changed the weather, and I would have done less damage with Kyogre, and that could have been scary, but yeah. The thing with Liepard is that you should always expect, like, Fake Tears, Fake Out, Copycat. Those are the main moves that I expect, and I guess it's a lot of, like, utility, you know, on core foul play, for example. But yeah, just making sure that we play around the copycat plays is really critical here. But yeah, another win on the board for Giratina. Ooh, rank number 23 for the next one here. Zacian, Groudon, Yveltal, Kyogre, Incineroar, Amoonguss. Okay. I mean, it's nothing too crazy, but to me, Amoonguss is going to be the most annoying Pokemon to deal with here, because I actually don't have too many ways to hit it for super effective damage other than Hailstorm from Kyogre, and I think a single Spore can drastically put me in a tough spot. I'm interested in Whimsicott, but I think they're likely going to lead something like Incineroar Yveltal or Incineroar Zacian to try to counter the Whimsicott. I really want to bring Zapdos here, but I almost feel like I need all of my restricted Pokemon, because Zapdos and Whimsicott do no offensive damage into Amoonguss. So if I expect an Incineroar lead, I think Whimsicott plus Kyogre is decently effective here with Zacian and Giratina in the back. I've been defaulting to this a lot, but it's just such a good core. Like, and you have to have a good argument to bring Yveltal. I think, or sorry, Zapdos. If they did not have Amoonguss in Team Preview here, I actually would bring the Zapdos, because it's super strong thanks to Thunder Wave onto Yveltal and the Zacian, and I can Eerie Impulse Yveltal as well. But I think Amoonguss here is already pretty difficult to deal with, so I'd rather have just more offense from these super powerful restricted Pokemon. And maybe they don't bring Amoonguss because they're worried about like a Max Airstream from the Zapdos, but they go with Incineroar and Yveltal. Yeah, so that's what I said, right? The two leads I was expecting were Incineroar, Yveltal, Incineroar, Zacian, because those are your best anti-Whimsicott leads. Turn one's already fairly interesting, right? Like, they could Snarl here. Fake out Airstream onto Whimsicott's definitely a possibility. You could fake out Kyogre, which would be a pretty bold play, because I could Dynamax Kyogre from this angle. I actually want to switch out into Zacian here to conserve Whimsicott for later Tailwind, and then just Water Spout turn 1. I'm hoping they double up into Whimsicott. That would be the ideal output, but even if they go, I don't know, Fake Out plus Airstream, it's not the end of the world, because then I get a free switch it into Zacian, right? But you would have to have some good conviction to click Fake Out onto Kyogre turn 1 here. But I could see a lot of players who would do it here, because, like, from their angle, they're like, okay, my opponent has to be worried about Snarl, so are you really just going to let me click, like, are you really going to Dynamax and let me Snarl you? Beautiful, though. They actually fake out Zacian. That is so good. And they actually go for Tailwind. Okay, that's totally okay with me, because now I get so much damage off, right, for free with Water Spout, and I've also staggered a potential Tailwind now, which is excellent for us. They're actually Focus Sash on Incineroar here, but this is one of the positions where them being Focus Sash, I would say, actually benefits me because it prevents them from getting a free switch in immediately, which is awesome for us. Maybe they didn't even bring Amoonguss in the end. I mean, I could see Incineroar parting shotting here, but I could also see them just Flare Blitzing. Honestly, here I'm kind of down to Protect and Water Spout. Actually, should I really Protect here? What am I worried about? Flare Blitz, Foul Play, doubling up into that slot potentially? That would be kind of annoying, actually. And that was a really strong turn 1, so yeah, I'm down to Protect and Water Spout here, I think. I could have also gone for Behemoth Blade onto Incineroar. Yeah, expecting the switch, because Kyogre coming in here makes sense. I mean, I still think this is okay, though. Like, yeah, you conserved Incineroar, but how much value does that actually bring you in this game? I don't think it's that much, truthfully. But I could have maybe just won the game there with the play rough. Because then it's like, that's one of your best Dynamax options, and you're eating up so much damage immediately. But, yeah, did I really need to be that worried about Foul Play plus Flare Blitz? Probably not. Okay, I'm going to KO onto Yveltal, though. And Incineroar's at 1 HP. Like, yes, they've Tailwinded, but now I can, you know, at some point switch out my Zacian. I can go into Giratina this turn, for example. But also, Giratina is a pretty solid late-game Dynamax option already from this angle. They bring out their Zacian, yeah. Okay, so Kyogre maxing here makes sense. You could just play rough here. And Geyser into Zacian. Oh, there is an interesting debate here to actually switch into a Whimsicott. But they could Behemoth Blade the Zacian slot. Okay, I think I'm going to go into... The problem going to Giratina here is that I eat up a lot of damage with both Pokemon that I want to potentially Dynamax. Okay, I'm down to go into Whimsicott here, honestly. And we have Scald, which is pretty cool. So if I burn Zacian, I would say we wouldn't have like 100% won the game, but we'd be in a really favorable position. But yeah, like I had the opportunity to just get a huge play rough there onto the Kyogre slot. They sub and they also don't Dynamax Kyogre. Okay, interesting. I'm totally okay with that outcome. They just Water Spout. That's great for us, in my opinion. Nice. And this is where, like, having bulky Whimsicott is so nice as well. Sub is really cool, though. I like that play a lot from my opponent's end. But this is great, because I've stalled out another turn of Tailwind, right? And I've broken Substitute. Now is the question, like, do I want to Tailwind? Do I want to Light Screen? Do I want to Charm? We have so many options with Whimsicott. I think the best play, though, is probably to Tailwind here. And go for another Scald onto the Zacian slot. At this point, we're looking to Dynamax Giratina in the endgame. Interesting. Okay, so they're not going to... Oh, they could pick up a double KO here, right? Yeah, it's going to be play rough onto Kyogre. Okay. I mean, how else could I have played around that, though? Switching out, maybe? That would have been the only real option, I think. The problem is now I have the speed advantage, but does that actually get me far enough to win this game? Because they've held on to their Dynamax this entire time. And, like, I should have expected my Kyogre to be slower there, right? But how else could I play around that? Maybe Charm Zacian and Scald it? I really like my opponent's decision, by the way. They hang on to their Dynamax for as long as they have. I think that's incredibly smart. So I have a pretty major speed advantage now, right? I expect Kyogre on their end to be Assault Vest. Last turn of Rain. So we Dynamax now. If I were them, I would protect Zacian this turn. Geyser into the Zacian slot. I'm going to Phantasm Kyogre and protect my Zacian this turn, I think. Because I don't want to feint to a Max Geyser from their Kyogre. They switch out, which is fine by me. Because the thing is now, yes, you have Fake Out next turn, but your Fake Out, like, Geyser, you're not going to have the Rain Up after this turn, which is the main thing. And so the idea is that, oh, wait, no, but they'll get chip damage on a Zacian through Protect. Ah, that's bad. Yeah. Maybe Light Screen was just better for me, but I really wanted Tailwind to outspeed their Zacian. I think maybe switching my Zacian out, or sorry, switching my Kyogre out the turn I got hit by Play Rough was probably the play. And then, like, Dynamaxing Kyogre in this endgame was probably actually the better approach. Basically, the problem for me right now is that this turn I'll survive with Zacian, but next turn they have a very free Fake Out plus Max Geyser into that slot. And I've been intimidated. So, yeah, letting Kyogre switch in for free the way I did earlier was bad. And, like, being afraid of something like Flare Blitz Foul Play was maybe kind of silly. They had the conviction to go for the hard switch there as well, which, yeah, kudos to them for finding that play. Okay, it's not bad damage from Phantasm. More importantly, I get a defense drop as well. The problem now is I'm probably going to eat up Geyser. Yeah. So let's see how much this does, because Rain expires after this turn, right? 190 to 137. So that did 53 damage. Yeah, I'm not very confident on surviving another one if they just Fake Out Geyser the slot. I might need a double Protect right now, honestly. Or a crit Phantasm. That would also work. I'm just going to go for the double, because their play is always to Fake Out plus Geyser Zacian in this position. Yeah, we don't get it. Okay, it's fine. The way they conserve Incineroar was really nice after that turn 1. Crit here would also... It'd actually just win us the game, I think. We were so close to KOing as well, yeah. But they hang on with like 10% in the end. I also could have read into Zacian switching into Incineroar last turn and just gone for Phantasm to KO that slot. Because then I could double up onto their Kyogre slot. But I was thinking from my opponent's position, maybe they just are willing to stay in with the Zacian and try to bait damage into that slot. Because I think my obvious play was like Protect and then maybe Phantasm onto the Zacian slot. And that actually could have won me the game. Because essentially it's like I would have had Tailwind up and then I would have been able to Behemoth Blade Phantasm their Kyogre for a KO. But now it's just 3v1. I think this is one of the only downsides with this team is you can end up in positions like this where it's a little bit awkward. Can we win this game? I'll still play it out for a turn here. Because, like, I don't know. I could see myself KOing Kyogre here. They parting shot with Incineroar. Then I can go for Shadow Force and hope for a critical hit. I did get the crit, but at the wrong turn. I needed it either during one of the 2 Giratina attacks or against the Zacian. Really well played by my opponent, though, after what was like a really strong turn 1 for me. And I think it kind of came down to how they utilized Dynamax Kyogre and how they held on to their water spot as well. So, no shame losing here. I think that my opponent, you know, made really good plays. But it did feel kind of bad after a really strong turn 1, and part of it was them just getting a free switch into Kyogre. But I think, like, it was good recognition from my opponent because they realized, okay, I'm already behind in this game, and so I'm not going to be able... Like, they had to take some risk, whether it be the Flare Blitz play or the hard switch or going for a parting shot there. Part of the other thing was, like, I was like, okay, they're probably max speed Incineroar here, right? Like, that would make sense to me. So, like, the thing here I could hope for is for them to not have a Dark-type attack on Incineroar and not have Play Rough or misplay Rough on Zacian, and then we crit with the Phantom Force. So, because it's on 100% over, I'm not going to give up here. I keep saying Phantom Force. Shadow Force. Sorry. Yeah. And then in the end, like, I think the critical turn was when I lost both Whimsicott and Kyogre as well. Because if I had switched Kyogre out here, Dynamaxing Kyogre would have been a better alternative. Because it would have been able to one-shot Zacian with Geyser. It would not have cared about an Intimidate from Incineroar either. Whereas the Giratina was greatly affected by Intimidate. So there were a bunch of plays, like switching out Kyogre to Zacian. The turn Kyogre fainted was a possibility. They actually just go for Blade. Okay. So given that, I expect them to have a Dark-type attack on Incineroar. But if not, this actually gets fairly interesting if I can actually land a critical hit onto the Zacian slot. But if even if they have a Dark-type attack, I don't know, maybe Giratina can even survive. And it's Flare Blitz, yeah, so... I mean, we need a crit right now, but this is what I'm playing towards, right? Yes, the odds of winning are so slim, but now you can actually see a path to victory. And even though it's a slim path, it's a path nonetheless. So that's why you go for these endgame plays. So they just played, yep. Shadow Force crit here would actually just win us the game, assuming they indeed don't have a dark type attack. Ah, but it does not get the crit. Okay, and they do Flare Blitz. So yeah, like this is the win condition I was playing towards, right? You can see there, Flare Blitz actually does very, very negligible damage. So it's 1v1 against Zacian. It's funny, I got the crit, but it was just the wrong turn. I needed to be one of the 2 turns against Kyogre when I was Dynamaxed. But indeed, it was not enough here in the end. So yeah, now they just Behemoth Blade. I guess I could always misclick and click Protect, so I'll still go for a Shadow Force though. But there's Behemoth Blade. Yep. Nicely played. Yeah, I'd say there were like 3 different turns I could have played better in this game. The one was Incineroar against the Zacian slot. I could have played rough the Incineroar slot, punish Kyogre switching in super heavily. Then they don't even have a good Dynamax option at that point. That's why that play was risky for them. But like I said, they were behind in the game. So I think finding that opportunity to get Kyogre out, even if it's risky, is pretty critical for them. Another play was switching my Kyogre out into Zacian the turn that I ate the play rough on the Kyogre slot. I could have gone for Charm onto Zacian that turn potentially as well. And then the third opportunity was when I had protected Zacian and gone for Phantasm onto Kyogre. I could have Phantasmed the Zacian slot instead. And I think I should have, because if I Phantasm Zacian, even if Zacian protects there, I can still KO you next turn. If you switch into Incineroar, I get the knockout onto that slot immediately. So I had many better plays to make in this game, and my opponent did a great job coming back after a really strong turn 1 from my end. So yeah, well played by them, and let's look for one final one. What in the heck? There's a Mew, Shedinja, and Zoroark for our final game with this team. Okay. Huh. I'm excited to go up against this. Honestly, if we lose, like, fine by me. It's a really cool team. This could actually be a game where Zapdos makes sense because of Eerie Impulse, in my opinion. Light Screen plus Eerie Impulse is so strong here. My opponent's team is, like, fully specially oriented. Let's give Zapdos a shot. You have not really been able to come out in most games, so I want to give it an opportunity here. It's a really cool team, though. I mean, Mew and Zoroark both are like when I'm playing against a potential Zoroark, I have to think about every possibility, right? So yeah, I'm gonna go for probably Tailwind plus, or not even Tailwind, Light Screen plus Eerie Impulse maybe. I do think my opponent's team is inherently a little bit weaker because it's so reliant on special attackers, and that's where having the combination of Light Screen plus Eerie Impulse makes it a lot easier for me to stall out their Trick Room. But Mew is just a big wild card here. Shedinja, Calyrex. Could be Zoroark here disguised, though. Okay. Turn 1. Turn 1, turn 1, turn 1. I am down to... Oh, maybe I needed to bring Incineroar here. My Shedinja answers are a little bit suspect right now, especially if... Well, if it's Goggles, I can just Shadow Sneak it for a KO, right? Okay, I'm down to Thunder Wave, Calyrex, turn 1, and Light Screen. I just wonder if they respect Zapdos having Heat Wave or Hurricane here. If we had either, Shedinja's in really bad shape. But yeah, I actually have to play this so carefully now that I think about it, because I only have one Shedinja answer, and that's Giratina. Okay, Light Screen goes off. They just Astro Barrage. That's fine. That was a crit, and I survive on exactly one. Okay, that is a Zoroark. Very cool. Burning Jealousy. That is so funny, by the way. Oh my gosh. That's really bad. Oh my gosh. I should have thought about the potential of missing. Like, Tailwind Eerie Impulse was the better play there. I mean, if we hit that, though, I would have been in such good shape. And now this game becomes really awkward for me. Yeah, I am not very pleased about that. Yeah, Tailwind Eerie was better, I think. I just hyper fixated on... Like, I didn't think I would faint there with Whimsicott either, but yeah, because I figured this was actually Shedinja, not Zoroark. Burning Jealousy is also really interesting. Okay, I'm just gonna T-Wave Calyrex here and Sacred Sword into Shedinja, which is actually Zoroark. What is happening? That is so cool! But that is where missing is really frustrating, right? Because if I didn't miss last turn, they wouldn't be able to make this play. Wait, does Burning Jealousy not burn there? Onto Zacian? Okay, we hit Thunder Wave here. I thought it would burn there. I'm surprised it didn't. Now I'm a little bit confused. I expected it to, but the fact that it doesn't is obviously great for me. Okay. Maybe someone can explain that in the comment section below. And there's Shedinja now. I mean, now is the mind game of do you go for ally switch? I want to detect here and Behemoth Blade onto Calyrex, but yeah, Incineroar would have been stronger for me. Incineroar would have been a great Dynamax option for me in this game, actually. This is so interesting to me. What a team. I mean, Zoroark Shedinja Calyrex is something you could have used in the previous series. Okay, let's see if they go for an ally switch here. No ally switch. Okay, that's a pleasant surprise. And if you just had Heat Wave here, this would really be a wrap. I'm curious if Calyrex is sashed here. Okay, so Shedinja does not have sash, meaning you're just a Shadow Sneak away from fainting, which is good. Poltergeist into Zapdos. Maybe Trick Room. Oh, okay. I honestly think I just sacrifice the Calyrex here. Blade into Calyrex. Sorry, sacrifice Zapdos. They could get fully paralyzed as well. Poltergeist, sure. We actually dodge that, but they get an Astral Barrage off. Okay. They were targeting Zapdos anyway. And Zacian would have always survived, so I think it's fine. But I'm not sure my Giratina can win this endgame for me. Kind of comes down to what their final Pokemon is. And whether or not they endure this next turn. Because if not, I can just Shadow Sneak you for a KO. That's a really fun team, though. Okay. Playing against Shedinja with this team is actually kind of a nightmare. Because you only have two things that can hit it in Giratina and Incineroar. Palkia is the last one. Okay. Given the Palkia... I still got Light Screen up. 3 turns of Trick Room, though. I'm down to Phantasm Palkia here and protect this turn. Like, but I guess I could just max Wormwind me. Yeah, they very easily could max Wormwind me here. I maybe should just attack with Zacian, truthfully. Ah, they're faster than me, too. Yeah, that's really bad news. I had no safe play against the Shedinja plus the Calyrex when that was out on the field, but I could have just gone for Volt Switch. Plus Behemoth Blade at least force you to go for a potential ally switch. I don't like my decision to protect Zacian here. I actually think I should have just attacked with it because, like, I still have so many turns of Trick Room to stall out anyway. I might as well just go for it, but... I guess it would work out if they, you know, tried to max Quake my Zacian slot here. But I think this is going to be a fairly difficult one to win because Palkia outspeeds me, unfortunately. But we'll see. If this turn goes well, I could still win the game. But I think I could lose here if they just go for, like, Poltergeist. Okay, wait, this actually works as well. They ally switch. They do go for Wormwind, though. Yeah, how much does this do to me? Just under half. Okay. But the thing is, yeah, now it actually opens a path for me, because it means Shedinja actually just faints, which is a very pleasant surprise. Because we know you're not focus sashed. Okay. This is going to be really close. I I get a defense drop onto you. So we're essentially doing the same damage we were doing earlier. Light Screen does wear off, though. So they have a free target into the Zacian slot if they want to take it. But if I were them, I'd actually think about Worm Winding into the Giratina slot. But there's 2 turns of Trick Room, so I could always Phantasm and play Rough this turn and then protect the Pokemon on the final turn and then go for a Play Rough or Shadow Force to win the game. And they go for Quake. Okay, that's really good for me. I think we win off this, but we'll see. Seeing Shedinja get punished for Ally Switch is really funny to me, but we'll take it. Because I was actually pretty, like, I was thinking about, I don't know, Shadow Sneak there, but I was worried about Endure. But the thing is, now I Phantasm, it's the last turn of Trick Room, I get a defense drop. It's your last turn of Dynamax on Palkia as well. So now I can just Max Guard. Right, double check board state, last turn of Trick Room, you're at -2 defense. So we Max Guard here. This is so funny, by the way. I don't know, like Giratina versus Palkia showdown, like Battle of the Gen 4 Legends. Yeah, they just Worm Wind. Cool. Like, I feel better seeing the target go into the Zacian slot, because at least with Giratina, I know that I can't miss the Shadow Force, whereas with the Zacian, I can misplay Rough, right? And that's really scary to me. I guess now the question is whether or not I actually KO Palkia after the defense drop. But Shadow Force is just the strongest attack here. They could also miss Spatial Rend. I personally think Shadow Force should KO with them being at -2 defense, but we'll see. If not, and that's what we end up losing to, so be it. Okay, and now we simply get it off here. I don't know, it's close. It's honestly really close. But hoping the defense drops chained enough here to get the KO. Beautiful. And that is Giratina. That's a really fun game to end things on with this team. But it has been a blast, and that was a really cool team from my opponents. And I mean, Mew, Shedinja, and Zoroark in team preview is very, very scary. I think if Shedinja actually didn't ally switch there and they had just clicked Poltergeist instead on a Giratina, I would have lost the game. So really boiled down to that turn, in my opinion, and it turned out better than I ever expected. Like, I was expecting Endure or Poltergeist from the Shedinja slot. So, yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. So thank you so much, as always, for watching. I really enjoyed our time with this team. I think it is definitely, yeah, like, even though it has a lot of standard Pokemon, like the way Whimsicott was set up, as well as the Giratina, just made it play out very differently from what you would normally expect from a Whimsicott Tailwind team in this format. So thanks so much, as always, for watching. Check out the original team and creator down in the description below. Leave a like if you enjoy. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all soon. All right, peace.